Dry for most of tonight with clear spells, but there'll be some rain in the northwest and south. Lowest temperatures of 4 to 8 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello there, busy evening ahead. We have Liverpool away to West Ham in the Premier League, looking to go just the 19 points clear of Manchester City. Manchester City, for their part, hosting Manchester United, who yesterday were dealing with fans throwing flares into Ed Woodward's property. This evening, a trip to the Etihad in the Carabao Cup. Brian O'Driscoll is on Wednesday Night Rugby. We are 3 days out from the Six Nations. And we have Kilkenny's Katie Power and Galway's Heather Cooney. They're in studio 7:30. Today, the launch of the Little Woods Ireland Camogie League campaign, which gets underway at the weekend. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball. Richie McCormack is here. Hello.
Joe, how are you?
And Johnny Ward has strolled in looking resplendent.
Are you sweating there, actually? It looks quite a warm studio.
It's a hefty jumper to be wearing.
Perspiring.
Yeah.
It's a little bit warm.
Do I look like I'm sweating?
Yeah, a little bit.
You nervous about the weekend?
No, I'm all right. I'm all right.
Six Nations. It's on the way.
It suddenly hit me today, I won't lie.
300,000-400,000 people watching you?
Yeah, no, it did a bit.
More, I would have thought, would it be?
It's Joe.
500,000 watching the
Scotland, yeah.
Kerry-Dublin game at its pivotal moment, I think, on Saturday, which is amazing considering the apparent demise of Gaelic football. But the Six Nations, everyone watches it. The pressure's on, Joe.
Pressure's on. The previous 2 years, there were weeks of worrying.
Would you worry about it?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
When it comes to the point, all right, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and then you realise there's no getting away from this. So do you ever kind of tense up, or is it fine and natural?
It's never fine or natural. It's always a surreal moment where they go 5, 4, and then...
The weirdest part is because it's a mostly, I'd imagine is it a nearly empty room when you're in there? Or there's a few people knocking around.
Yeah.
But you have no sense of you're broadcasting to whatever million people. And you always have to do that thing where you're like, oh, you're just talking to one. But even still, it's just the three lads on the desk and there's loads of robotic cameras and you're like, I'm talking into a void here.
Such a void, yeah. And it's a big old studio out at Virgin. They've a great big studio, so even to hit that back wall.
When you watch The Crown, and they've had a few episodes where the Prime Minister has had to give a speech about this or that, and he's just talking into this little kind of camera to whatever, the whole nation, and as you say, it's in this tiny little room, and you wonder, they just seem to carry it off, you know?
The King's speech.
Yeah, can you imagine the difficulty of that? But it is interesting. Like it's
big, you know. Well, funny, not to get. I don't think I'm giving away any state secrets, but I know the first couple of weeks in 2018 when I was first doing it, one thing I said to them was, I really wouldn't fight you if we could pre-record my opening 30-second thing that goes to the montage, just to get up and running, so you don't fluff that because of nerves. And then, like anything, once you get into it, it's completely fine in the main.
The bottom line is, I've said this before, there's absolutely no point in being nervous, and it's easier to say that than otherwise, and people are different, but we're all going to die, so it's not that important. Just get on with it.
I tell myself that all the time, and I totally subscribe to that, and I think like what you're nervous about today won't even seem important tomorrow, and yet that logic can't quite seem to hit my nervous system.
We're all going to die, as Johnny says.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Well, like it's meaningless. It doesn't matter.
Nothing matters.
But I can't shake it. It will always be there, I think, even in 10, 20 years. Well, you're not a nervous personality.
No, like I don't know, what's the point? Maybe I'm too lax about things, and maybe that comes across, but I just don't see the point. Yeah. Do you know, it's just, you might as well get on with it. Sometimes you might do better than other times, but ultimately it's just another day, it's just another job, and you just
of course it is.
But in fairness, I am looking forward to seeing you in action on Saturday.
Well, there's a supportive text in. Not everyone will be watching the Six Nations. Don't worry, Joe. You can mess up all you want, and many of us won't be watching or particularly care.
That's true as well. That's feeds into Johnny's nervousness thing. Whatever about the people that are watching, far more people won't be watching than are watching. So, like, screw it.
See, it's not really the masses that I'd be worried about. It's the people that are important, i.e. the people you're doing the job for, who, you know, will dictate your your future in a sense, you know. Like, when I say important, I mean the masses don't care. Couldn't care less. Jesus. Is the point. They're there to watch the match, you know.
Couldn't care, Joe. They care.
They don't.
They care about you. You're building a relationship with them. You're like Des Lynam within 2 years.
Des Lynam. There was a man who didn't look like he was nervous. Good God.
You see, in fairness, the amount of sports people that have become presenters now and all that. And
Who has besides Lineker?
Tommy Bowe.
Yeah.
There have to be more than that. God, I've just said it now, and I'm like, how many more? I'm sure there's across in America.
It's not a new thing. When he looked like Peter Ellis was a golfer, and he became a golfing TV personality pretty much straight away.
Did John Frankham present, or was he always a pundit?
He's more of a pundit.
I remember Satanta used to do. Remember Pat Dolan and Felix Healy had a joint presenting thing, and it was so bizarre, but it was actually very entertaining.
It's like Niall Quinn and Andy Townsend's phone-in show during France 98. One of the most bizarre pieces of telly. There was a great after-match skit on it, actually, that did the rounds.
When Niall Quinn couldn't fit into the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know, Johnny, I would maybe disagree that many have then.
Maybe you're right.
We can't
Maybe
think
it's
of
just
any.
that they've gotten into journalism.
Journalism for sure.
Here's a question, though, on the rugby.
Here we go.
So it's a strange structure in that they've 3 games at home, but one of them's a dead rubber in effect, that they're going to beat Italy. So the 2 games are their first 2 games, and they're within a week of each other.
Yeah.
So it's a strange kind of, if your whole life builds around like rugby and Irish rugby and the Six Nations particularly, can't wait to go to the game and can't wait to go to the game. There are 2 games, bang bang, then it's kind of over in terms of the participation of going to a game.
Yes.
Most people aren't going to get to Twickenham or Paris.
Yeah, true. And then from Andy Farrell's point of view, Jesus, if you you have to win both of those games really, otherwise it becomes a daunting fixture list. No one will give you any credit for beating Italy, and then you're left with Twickenham and Paris.
I've been impressed with his sort of media performance, but he's naming the team a bit early. He's like, whatever it is, we're looking after our own performance. And I suppose maybe the big dilemma was at scrum half, but it was probably likely he was going to make that choice.
So, yeah, so.
But he seems to, I think a change is as good as the rest, as they say, and I think the players will. From my limited knowledge of rugby, I think they're worth a few quid to win the Six Nations. I think they're around 4-1. It's probably hinging on one game in particular.
Hey Joe, can you ask Richie to read the newsround with a bit more gusto, just like he does for the radio ads? Thanks, says the texter.
That won't go down well.
It'd be
really irritating.
Can you do your radio ad voice for the newsround?
For the newsround. I'll do the first story in the ad.
Oh no, geez, I couldn't.
You see, even the first line, looking at it,
I actually couldn't.
I want to hear it.
Manchester City hold a 3-1 lead over that one. You can't do that.
When is it too much in a radio ad? When do they say, actually, tone that down a bit? Is there such a thing?
No.
Give us a bit more, Richie, is all they say.
I remember I did one where it was very close to London. I had people directing me from down an ISDN line in London as to how to say a specific line or a specific phrase.
Sounds very glamorous, actually.
It's not really. You're in a room with people
irony there.
Hi, Richie.
No, the London line.
Can we have more emphasis on rising, and then in the very cell at the end? Thanks very much. And it's like
They're very polite English people, though. Do you know, they really are. Anyone's I've dealt with, they're just very, very polite.
I have done no voiceover work at all. The odd promo in here for like on the show this weekend, blah, blah, blah.
they've heard your comp reads, Joe. They're not good.
Well, maybe there's that, okay? But there is the moment that you...
This week on the show, we are giving you
A little
the
bit
chance
stilted.
to win €3 million. Oh, wow.
Okay, the first read is always iffy, but then I know what I'm saying
I've
after a while.
produced you enough times to know that's not true.
It's just like a This Is Your Life episode. It's like...
When you're doing the reads, though,
Yeah.
in my limited experience, so say you do a read, and then they go, there's silence, and then they're like, Richie, we just think if you could do X, Y, Z, and then you do X, Y, and Z, and they're like, that was really good, but could you just...
I've had one of them.
I'd say you have.
I've had one of them, and I'm not going to lie. I have really had to bite my tongue.
How many takes?
Can't even remember.
You don't even know what the words are anymore.
No, it doesn't. Those sentences don't make sense.
No.
They're just a gang of words thrown together like madness.
Sue Barker is a text in.
St. Greavesy.
St. Greavesy is another text in.
Saint- mind there as well, yeah.
Sue Barker, yeah.
Scott Minto on Sky Sports has just come in.
Yeah.
Started off shaky, but not the worst football.
Scott
presenter.
Minto's grand, yeah.
David Prutton is presenting for the Football League stuff on Sky as well. He played for Forest.
Dion Dublin presents Under the Hammer.
Homes Under the Hammer.
Homes Under the Hammer, sorry. Homes
Upstairs
Under
to the
the Hammer.
bedrooms.
What is that?
It's where they go around and they look at kips of houses and they try and sell them on the BBC. They're mostly kips.
Is it a big show?
It's like, I wouldn't say it's big, but it's like it's a constant of mid-morning, you're off sick
Okay.
kind of thing, where it's like
That's
half
my
10.
life.
Exactly, yeah. It's Johnny.
I started
if you're off
watching,
sick,
like-
slash Johnny.
When I started watching an episode of Doctors followed by Shortland Street, I was
Johnny.
like, Jesus.
I've often wondered who watches Shortland Street.
I know,
Now
it's,
I know.
it's, I don't know, like
It's based in New Zealand, isn't it?
Kiwi accent. It's so, and the acting is like, it's kind of like, you know, it's bad. It's like the equivalent of when you're watching like I don't know,
Fair City.
a Fair City, for example. Fair City's on, and you see them at the bar in McCoy's, and you're looking at them, and you're like, that is the stalest pint of Guinness ever, and it's stale because they've had 23 takes.
Yeah.
This day, the Guinness has just gone really stale, and your man has been like, God, I'm a bad actor or whatever, but this Guinness has just gone really stale. I better get it in one the next
What's the
time.
appeal of Shortland Street?
The
The fact that it's on.
Considering you're so conscious of the fact that you're going to die, you might have used your time a bit better.
Yeah, it's like you're on your deathbed. What do you regret? Well, there was Doctors in Shortland Street.
Back.
But I saw actually RT were advertising it as a package down under thing where it was like Shortland Street, home and away, and presumably is Neighbours on RT nowadays?
Yeah.
So it was like this.
His Neighbours was on, yeah.
So Shortland Street is, I mean, if you think it's bad, it's worse. It's really bad, but it's bad with a Kiwi accent.
I'm being,
Lot
to-
of-
I'm,
no.
I'm being told here that Holmes Under the Hammer has been going for 23 series and over 1,000 episodes.
Jesus Christ.
It's like The Simpsons.
Jesus, lads, raw eggs the other night, philosophy tonight.
What was the raw eggs debate? I missed this.
Joe
don't-
puts eggs in his Weetabix.
You don't know. Somebody texted in their 15-year-old wanted to have raw eggs. They were in training and Rocky style, and the mother wanted to know, was this a good idea? And we said, on balance, probably not.
You mentioned the
It's not a debate we want to reopen tonight.
you mentioned the coverage of the school's rugby earlier on. What's your take on the kids at that stage of their life already like being hardcore in the gym, and you got to be very uneasy about it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
They seem to be training 5, 6, 7 days a week.
And they look like professional athletes almost.
Yeah. I think what's happened there is, well, look, times have moved on anyway, but they're also aware that it's such a small bubble. Like, if they perform well, they can get a Leinster contract.
Shop window.
Like, and your life's made, you know. It's a more attainable version of Manchester United.
I have deep misgivings about it.
Yeah.
And just where
Lots of people do.
where
Lots of
rugby is
people
going in general, in that, you know, if you had a poll on the people listening in, would you like your child to play rugby or something else? I think a lot of people are like, I'd just be wary where rugby's going with
The school
physicality.
stuff shouldn't get the coverage it does.
do. Yeah.
It's OTT.
So we better kick off the news round before time does come against us. Brian
Joe Molloy has claimed that he never gets nervous before a show. But
Brian
Nerveless Joe Molloy.
Brian just got after 8 o'clock. We have Katie Power and Galway's Heather Cooney, All-Ireland champion,
yes,
in studio 7:30.
Nice.
Promo voice,
Nice
Joe.
lineup.
Promo voice. Sell this. Come on.
But first,
And then in the football show.
just start your news round.
I didn't know it was you, by the way, until somebody said it to me. I was like, how did I not
What do? You do Power City? A lot.
give them a plug there?
Yeah, Percy.
Might bung you a few more quid.
I don't go through a Sunday ad break without your voice.
It's because I do loads for like here.
All right, okay. I've no problem with it.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for your blessing.
Yeah, okay. Where are we starting? Manchester United, Manchester City.
Manchester City hold a 3-1 lead over Manchester United heading into the second leg of their Carabao Cup semi-final at the Etihad tonight. For City, they've given United a chance by starting Claudio Bravo in goal. There's then a back four of Kyle Walker, Rodri, who reverts to centre-half alongside Nicolas Otamendi and Joao Cancelo. Stop looking at me. Ilkay Gundogan, Riyad Mahrez and Kevin De Bruyne are in midfield.
I'm singing to something
And
totally
then it's
different there.
Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling and Sergio Aguero up front. For United, David De Gea starts in goal. It's a back five of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw with Brandon Williams on the left. Fred, Nemanja Matic and Jesse Lingard are in midfield. Mason Greenwood and Anthony Martial are up front. Kick-off is at 7:45 and Aston Villa await the winners at Wembley on March the 1st.
Sorry, go ahead.
Meanwhile, Manchester United have finally agreed a deal to sign Bruno Fernandes from Sporting. The Portuguese midfielder is flying into Manchester tonight ahead of a medical and the signing off of personal terms. United are going to pay Sporting €55 million for Fernandes, with $25 million in potential add-ons to follow.
We'll chat a bit about that on the football show. It seems he'll bring goals to the team, either through assists or scoring them himself. Meanwhile, Liverpool want to go, 19 points clear?
Just the 19 points. They're away to West Ham tonight, or Jurgen Klopp side. Darren Randolph drops to the West Ham bench tonight. Lucas Fabianski returns in goal. Jeremy Ngakia is their 19-year-old right full tonight. Issa Diop, Angelo Ogbonna and Aaron Cresswell are in the centre of defence, with Arthur Masuaku out left. Declan Rice, Mark Noble and Robert Snodgrass in midfield, with Manuel Lanzini in behind Sebastian Sebastian Haller. For Liverpool, one change for them. Alisson starts in goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson are their back four. Jordan Henderson, Ginny Van Aldum and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain are across the midfield. Divock Origi comes in for Sadio Mane, while Mo Salah and Roberto Firmino join him in the front three. Kick-off is at 7:45. West Ham today, meanwhile, completed the loan signing of Slavia Prague midfielder Tomas Souček. They have the option to make the deal permanent at the end of the season.
Okay, we'll keep you up to date in those games, obviously, across the evening. Somebody says Frank Stapleton presented Frank's Euro thing.
No. That was an Afro-Match thing.
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure Frank wrote his own book, which was called Frankly Speaking.
Yeah.
And I read it.
How frank was it?
It was, I think, if I remember rightly, he got married, obviously, at some point in his life. I think it got one sentence in the book. And it was just, Frank, you have to talk about something beyond, we played this game and we played that game. Now, if Frank is listening in, I could be wrong in that, but that was the impression. I think I got through the book. But I was like, no, you have to get books ghostwritten in the future, unless you're Eamon Dunphy or whatever, you're a very good writer.
Would you ghostwrite a future Frank Stapleton biography if he approached you?
I don't think the market's there. I've been toggling with the idea of doing Damien Delaney's one because I think he'd have a great story to tell. It's just, what's the hook? Does something need a hook? As in,
generally retirement is the hook, no?
Yeah, and that's gone. That's But I think Damien is brilliant. I think, and he's worked under Roy Keane. He's played Premier League. He was actually a really good, talented Gaelic footballer of minor age, and he played in the League of Ireland at an interesting time. He's great views in the game, I think. But if I know he'd have a good book. I just don't know if it would sell. But having said that, I'm reading Burned, the book about the renewable heat scheme, and it's like if ever you were trying to
up north.
Yeah, it was like. Do you remember when they?
Johnny.
Do you remember when the documentary on Cash for Ash? Do you remember the documentary on?
You're wasting your life.
1 million Dubliners. Do you remember the 1 million Dubliners documentary on Glasnevin Cemetery?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to sell this. Listen, I'm doing a 2-hour documentary, whatever it is, on a graveyard. Yeah. It's like, well, what are you talking about? It was one of the most touching pieces of TV I've ever seen. Amazing, even though if you look at the actual prognosis or whatever it is, the manifesto, like, this is going to be boring as hell. So Burned sounds like it's literally a book about a renewable heat scheme that went wrong. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay. It's so good. It's like incompetence at the top level of Northern Ireland on the Sinn Féin and DUP side, and it's riveting stuff.
Because it cost them an absolute fortune, didn't it?
An absolute fortune. Brought down the government, obviously, and just the Northern Ireland kind of basis of trying to take money off the Treasury in London as much as they can, whether you're green or orange. It was like this kind of the one unity they had, but it's a fantastic book, and as boring as it sounds. So that's where we're at the moment.
Right. Jeez, that's an eclectic mix of things you're spending your time on. Where are we going next, Rich?
Elsewhere, transfer-wise, 2 Irish strikers are on the move today. Callum Robinson has left Sheffield United for Championship promotion hopefuls West Brom until the end of this season, while Scott Hogan has ended his loan spell at Stoke to join Birmingham until the end of this campaign. He's found games hard to come by both Aston Villa, his parent club, and Stoke, and Hogan is hoping that this loan can kick-start his stuttering career.
I've had more tough times and good times in football, and that's just how it is, and you have to learn and to deal with that. And I probably didn't deal with it too well the past couple of years, and it's come back to bite me on the bum as such. But it is what it is, and I've just got to make sure that the next period is a good period, and then I can kick on from there. And I've come back from a lot worse.
It's probably not the worst move for Callum Robinson either, getting out of Sheffield United. He was often Preston's best player last season in many matches, and he seemed to start off okay. I remember him scoring a goal against Chelsea early on, or being involved in a big game against Chelsea for Sheffield United early in the season. But if he's not getting game time, he's better off just getting out of there. He
was an optimistic enough purchase, I think, for a Premier League club, considering a club also that is doing astonishingly well. So it's not you couldn't really begrudge him a move down. And West Brom, strong Irish influence there, obviously, with O'Shea as well. And the championship promotion race is the most riveting thing ever. I think it's great stuff.
Well, hopefully we're going to be talking about that on the football show. We have Adam Pope, who's with Leeds BBC. Brilliant guest, always really good contributor, really good on Bielsa, so he'll talk to us about how the championship's going. By the way, before I forget to do it in the news round, something we absolutely wanted to tell you about that's on this week. It is a charity night in aid of Scotland great Dottie Weir, who I'm sure you all know at this stage is very bravely and positively fighting motor neuron disease. So it's happening this Friday in the D2 Hotel in Dublin. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, and all the proceeds raised will go to the My Name is Doddy Foundation. If you want any more information on that, then just get in touch with info@d2dtwo.ie for more details. So that's all in aid of the My Name is Doddy Foundation, an absolutely worthy cause. So that's on this Friday, Six Nations time. Get along and support it if you can. Richie, last story or two?
Yeah, for the transfer news, Tottenham today completed the €30 million signing from PSV of winger Steven Bergwijn, while Arsenal have signed Spanish defender Pablo Mari on loan from Flamengo. Mikel Arteta's side also poised to sign fullback Cedric Schwarz from Southampton. That move will be helped along by Southampton's acquisition of Kyle Walker-Peters on loan from Tottenham. And some breaking news in the last half hour as well. World Athletics have confirmed that the World Indoor Athletics Championships scheduled for Nanjing in China from the 13th to the 15th of March have been postponed until next year due to the threat of the coronavirus in the country. And at the Australian Open, Rafa Nadal suffered a 4-set defeat in his quarter-final to Dominic Thiem. Thiem will play Alexander Zverev in the semi-finals after the German beat Stan Wawrinka also in 4 sets. In the women's draw, 4th seed Simona Halep will face Garbiñe Muguruza in the semi-finals. They were respective straight sets winners today over Estonia's Anett Kontaveit and Russia's Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Any more?
Yeah, loads of time.
Loads of time.
The Shane Lowry one is interesting if you wanted to bring that up. It's obviously up to yourself.
Sigerson Cup final we should mention tonight as well, IT Carlo and DCU. But as you mentioned, Johnny, there, Shane Lowry says he's no qualms about playing in Saudi Arabia. The Open champion plays alongside Brooks Koepka and Sergio Garcia in the opening rounds of this week's Saudi International. Despite the kingdom's horrendous human rights record, Lowry is just looking forward to getting his season, getting some traction.
Yeah, look, it's just, look, it's great to be playing. I'm very fortunate to play big events all around the world, and to come somewhere new is obviously, it's different. But it slides into my schedule absolutely perfect. Like, my main goal this year is to kind of make the Ryder Cup team, and my next event in Europe is on the European Tour is not going to be until the Irish Open in May, so to play 3 in the Middle East just suited me perfect. And look, the golf course is great here, the weather's lovely, and I'm just happy to be here.
It's a slightly similar dilemma, but it may or may not happen, but there's a Saudi race meeting next month, and it's like obscene money.
Yeah.
And there are Irish journalists going over, and I was thinking of going over because it'd be just, a different experience, and you're just like, even gone over as a journalist, are you kind of giving credence to the regime or whatever? It's, I've sympathy for Shane Lowry, and I've seen the arguments. Malachy Clerkin wrote an article about it. I see the argument against it, but I guess he's a golfer.
This that tournament first went to Saudi Arabia. I think it was last year it all blew up, and a few players took a stand. I don't know if he made it public or not, but I know Paul Casey did.
Casey did make it public.
Was it public? Yeah. Okay, good. So Casey did, and a few others did. The majority didn't, and then this year McIlroy took a stand, and in fairness, he didn't do it in a I'm holier than thou way. He said, look, it's not for me, and anyone can go if they want, but it's it is a moral thing in part for me. You couldn't really have any truck with somebody who's on the cut line, who's trying to make a career for their family, and if the European Tour have agreed to have this there, then frankly, they need to.
And Larry's main aim this year is Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
He wants to be in his first ever Ryder Cup team, and he needs as many points as possible.
There's also the argument you're opening up the regime, as in, this might help the regime.
I don't buy that.
You don't buy it?
No, I don't.
No.
And I do think more at Lowry's level, like a major winner set for life, I do think at the Dustin Johnson level, all the guys who are getting appearance fee money, they could skip it, and it wouldn't cost them much. It wouldn't affect them much. So,
the World Cup's taking place in Qatar, which has its own questions to answer. I mean, it's not. There are a lot of countries with dodgy human rights records.
Yeah. So, but it just seems to be the way it's going. I mean, honestly, in truth, you would like more of them to say, I can survive without this, so I'm going to take a bit of a stand here, and it doesn't cost me much. But it doesn't really seem to have caught on in the game. Very, very few have. So the event is going to go ahead, people won't like it, and the world will move on, and Saudi Arabia will keep turning, and maybe even buy Newcastle.
Brian O'Connor did have an article in the Times as well about do the racing personalities have a dilemma here, like the Irish trainers sending over horses. But racing's a strange game because it's so much backed by the Middle East that it just doesn't seem to come up. It's just like, well, they have studs in Ireland, people from the Middle East, and they're great for the game and all that, but kind of have to think a little bit outside the box at times.
You do, yeah.
So.
We'll come back to it, I'm sure. We'll talk about it on Golf Weekly this week, I would suspect, as well. 8 o'clock, Brian O'Driscoll on Wednesday Night Rugby. Up next, we have Katie Power from Kilkenny and Galway's Heather Cooney in studio.
Off the ball on Newstalk.
The Health and Safety Authority is getting Brexit ready. And if you operate a company that uses chemical products, you should too. You'll need to consider how it will impact your supply chain. And if you source your chemicals from the UK, you'll be especially affected, as they may be subject to additional rules following the UK's departure. So, to see how all this will affect your company, visit hsa.ie